Hello and welcome to Evolve by Erica, the podcast. This is Erica Pulsinelli, your host, here to talk about all things spirituality, 5D, manifestation, ascension, and beyond. Welcome to another episode. Come on in. Hi, guys. I'm so beyond excited. Like, we already basically had a whole podcast before we even got on here because the energy, you're just going to feel it right away. I don't even have to speak to it. You're going to feel it. You're going to love this episode and probably come back many times because Lisa DeChico Cahu's energy, everything she exudes is contagious. You're going to feel it. And I'm so beyond grateful that our journeys brought us together. My friends Beth and Danielle introduced me to Lisa. As soon as I saw her Instagram, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the energy of who I want to follow because I'm very picky about the energy that shows up on my feed. This is someone I look forward to seeing every day. Her fashion is on point. Her energy is beyond. And welcome.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. That was
I could
so
go on
incredible.
forever.
Thank you so much. I know I could go on forever about you two, though. Like our energies. And as soon as we'd actually spoken, I just felt this instant connection with you. So I'm so happy to be here. So
Feelings are
thank you for
mutual.
having me.
I'm so happy that we were able to set this up and that I get to feel like I'm in Miami for the day with you. Oceanside
Yes.
Miami.
Ocean view.
So just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself as the beautiful multidimensional being that you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa. I have a long, extensive intro, but basically, I'm an influencer, designer. I just launched my own brand. I'm a mom of a beautiful boy that's going to turn 4 soon, and I live in Miami. I just moved a year ago from New York, and I'm just living my best life. So that's
Truly.
it.
And that's what I feel every time I check in on you and see what you're doing. It's just so much energy, so much gratitude. And before we could even press record, we got right into manifestation because I was
Yes.
telling her that I look at her apartment. It really is part of my vision board of having this beautiful space to just look out to the abundance of the ocean and it's a frequency that you feel, that you hold, and that you share on your page.
Yes. So basically, it's become like a ritual. So I was telling you before that how I'm living now or this place was only ever in my vision. It was never part of something that I thought was actually going to happen. I always thought that I would live on the beach. But like I was saying before, it was at a place in my life where that physically and just financially was not even an option. But I truly believe in manifestation. I've always believed of thinking things from the end and because I'm a career person, I'm a former fit model, and I've always held so many careers in my life. And I have always felt this feeling of thinking from the end and seeing my life unfold. So when I got a piece of paper one day, I was like, where do I see my life? It was a really bad time, but I actually got this joyful feeling. That's why I really do believe and feel like everyone should do this and grab a piece of paper and just really put down what do you want in life? It's a simple question, but it's a very hard answer for some. But for me, it was I just want different energy. I want positive energy. I've been through a lot in my life, and I just really wanted something different. And honestly, the way I'm living now is literally, truly the epitome of a manifestation because I literally visualize this place. And sometimes when I walk out and I see the ocean or I'm in it, it feels like an outer body experience that I'm looking over myself instead of actually living it because it feels so much more than, people might think it's silly, but I feel so grateful every day because it's like a dream come true. It's like when you have something in your mind and then it comes true, you're just I can't even believe this. But what else can I do? And that's kind of where I sit every day is I see the abundance of the ocean and I see, tapping into that energy of wow, that created me. That same energy created us. And it's you also feel very small in comparison because it's so endless and abundant, and you just see so much that I feel like I can do anything after seeing that every day. So I literally start my day with a gratitude like ritual, and I walk outside and I really tap into the energy of, the sunrise and just the ocean. And I just feel like if that can happen, what else can happen in my life? So I start my day like that. So
I love how you said that. And especially before you were saying how you look at the ocean, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so abundant. Like, just seeing the magnitude of that and then bringing that into your own life and being like, wait a minute, like what limits am I having on myself and where can I lean into even more abundance? Like, and I know that
100%.
feeling of looking at the ocean and it's so expansive. It's so beyond. And I always get the message that I feel like a lot of us have been conditioned into a lack mindset. And when I look at the ocean, I'm like, there's so much to go around. Everyone is worthy of abundance, and there's just more than enough for everybody
I love that
to
you say that
receive.
because it is for everyone. I feel like there's this mentality in life that someone's special or like it's only for them, but it's not for me. And I've always been a person that's like, why is it not for everyone? Like, I mean, I was told no basically my whole life. And so, like, I come from a place of like, if I can do it, so can you. And the only difference and separation is that I believed it. And that's literally the only single thing that I would say that separates humans. It's like just having a belief system in yourself and in the fact that things that you cannot see can actually happen, or things that you have in your mind, because I feel like the mind is the most powerful thing you have, can actually happen. And I feel as if I'm living proof that it can. So I feel like it represents, hey, like if she can do it, so can I. And like, what else can I do? And so I come from that place, and I feel that that's my intention with my Instagram all the time. It's like, I want to show women what it could look like. It doesn't have to look like that, but giving the option of what it could look like. So that's basically like the intention of everything I do drives from that place of like, what else can I do? So I kind of feel like that's like where my drive comes from because, we're the lack mentality, or we're so driven by like our location. A lot of New Yorkers, I mean, I moved to New York when I was 18. I studied fashion at FIT, and I've been there ever since until here. So it's all I've known. But I really do feel like when you come out of something, it's like I'm not defined by where I live. I'm defined by myself, who I am. And who I am as a person can literally exist anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like a misconception, whereas like people think like a location's going to make them who they are, versus like you can put me in Guam and I'm going to be the same person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of another thing that the question's always like, oh, do you miss New York? Are you not the same because like you're not in New York? And I'm like, actually, I challenged myself to step out of my comfort zone. I didn't know that things were going to be good here. Like I didn't know, but I was willing to take on the risk of feeling like, wow, let me just experience something else in life. Because I think,
Yeah.
we're all coming from a place of like, well, this is it. And I have this like, maybe it's a fear of like, I don't want it to be it. Because we're all going, in the same direction, and you only really have one life. So
Yeah.
I feel like, why not experience different things, different energies? And if you don't like it, it's not a dead end. You can always do something else. And I feel like having that mentality and having that mindset just helps in everyday life. In general, like no matter what you're doing in your life, it just helps you to have this openness and this open, like, hey, I might like it. Like in anything you do. Instead of
So
being so
true.
closed off to everything and saying like, oh, well, I'm here and this is it. And I don't, I define myself from that, versus things, locations, nothing defines who you are. For me, it's like who you are as a person.
So true.
That's your energy. And I feel
It's
like,
so true.
yeah, especially being an influencer, and I love fashion. So people think it's like about the stuff, but for me, it's
Yes.
the energy in the
Yeah.
stuff. I
Hmm.
have this quote that's like, don't let the clothes wear you. You have to wear the clothes. because it's an energy in
Oh
the
my gosh.
clothes.
Yes.
And it's like just this feeling, like, and people tap into that feeling. And when you walk into a room, they're connected. Okay, you have a great outfit, but you can have
Yeah.
a girl that has the same exact outfit, but what your, confidence comes from your energy, who you are. Like, how are you walking into a room? Do you know who you are? Are you comfortable with that person? And I feel like that's where confidence really does come from. So that's like
I love
we're
that.
on another topic, but
I love that so much though. I love that. And it's so true because everything is energy. And that's what it
everything's
all
energy.
boils down to. Everything's energy. And it's true. Like you could be being in the same place as someone else or wearing the same thing as someone else. And it's a completely different experience based on the
100%.
energy that we hold and the intentions that we have. I think it's so interesting that you've been basically quantum leaping in a way. Well, that's what I call it because I actually create meditations around quantum leaping where I'll ask those who are doing the meditation to visualize like where do you want to be, visualize that, feel that, experience it as if it's now, and then the timeline kind of you create almost like a timeline hop to that because you generate that energy, and that's kind of what you were explaining, like your end goal,
Yeah.
getting into the energy of like having the clothing line or
Yes.
having the place in Miami on the ocean and tuning into that frequency and allowing that to help you travel to from where you are now to where you want to be and connecting to
100%.
that emotion.
And also,
Did you just learn that naturally? Like, did that just come to you as like a download?
no, I started my spiritual journey when I
I
was
want to hear
like
all about it.
16. Basically, I was
Okay.
in Catholic school. I survived spinal meningitis, and I remember my mom telling me I was like the only survivor. That's like it's
Yeah.
a kind of a long story, but I was one of 11. That's why 11s are really important to me.
Yes.
And I believe that they're my angels, but I always used to ask the question of like, why me? And so I guess that question just became like a question that I still ask myself every day and something that I kind of drive from.
Mm.
And I want to experience life to the fullest because I'm here and I feel like it's worth, questioning it. And I found myself at that point in my life where I was questioning, like, why am I here? And this can't be all. There has to be other things. And then I remember listening to Tony Robbins at that time, like the tapes, literally like the tapes, and feeling like this energy from him because he's such a energetic person. And I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
I'm so connected to this energy because I've always been like a ball of energy and very like large personality. And so I connect to him in that regard. And I listen, like if you see me moving my hands, it's the Italian, but also very like large personality. He's similar in that regard. And the things that he was saying about living life, I just really connected to. And then I would watch Oprah. And Oprah was kind of like the only woman that I would watch that like was super successful, came from like nothing. And I was like, wow. And then she used the word one day, spirituality. And so I was like, okay, spirituality. And I was going to Catholic school at the time. Um, and so I love, religions, like whatever, a separate topic, whatever. And it's nothing to knock a religion, but I just didn't feel as connected to the
Yeah.
religion that I did when she would speak about spirituality. And then I started reading Dr. Wayne Dyer's books. And that's when it was like thinking from the end. And really in his books, it was about intention and thinking from the end. And so that's kind of where I learned that. But as you know, just with meditation and everything that you do, it's a practice. I love that you say that every
Yeah.
day because I think people think like, okay, you're a positive person and you don't need to do anything else in your life and you basically sit down and relax because you're just a positive person. Whereas I think the opposite. I think it's so easy to fall into the traps of negativity in the world that you actually have to train yourself back into thinking positive. And it's a
Yes.
practice. Just like you work out every day, you have to practice the mindset of being positive, of being grateful, of being all those things, because then you start losing it. Like you start to forget, you easily go,
Yep.
because it's much easier being negative than positive, unfortunately. But
Yep.
society's built on that. Like I was listening to something recently and they were like, oh, you would drive by a car accident on the street, but if there was a sunset, you would never stop. And it's so true because I think,
Except us, we would
except us,
stop.
I would stop, I would take a photo, I would get my outfit there. But again, it's because you're practicing
It's
every
true.
day. You're not just
Yep.
like coasting on like what you've learned, 10 years ago and kind of being like, well, I know this and I don't need to do anything else. No, you're actively, and that's what I think is like active, even with fitness, it's like you're disciplined. You're actively doing something for your body. Same thing with your mind.
Yes.
And mindset comes the same way that comes. It's like, it's a discipline. And that's kind of why I work out every day, because it teaches you to be just a very disciplined person. And if you just have that at least to start your day, I feel like what else could you do that's disciplined? It goes into every aspect of your life. So I like challenge myself to be in these places of like discipline. And that's kind of where that all comes from. So yeah, it was like a learned thing of thinking from the end, from that spiritual
Wow.
journey.
And how did you find Tony Robbins at 16 years old? Like I was not doing these
I
things while I
know.
was in like high school.
I know. I was an old
Although I was
soul.
interested, but
Really weird that I was like a
yeah.
very old soul, super young. I actually always felt like a very black sheep because I always had these like thoughts that no one had. And I would always be
Mhm.
kind of like, wow, there's something like not normal with me because I'm like, everyone's having these other thoughts. And I'm like, yeah, this is like, why we're here and like all these things.
Right.
But actually, I met Adrian when I was that age and he actually introduced me to that. So I married the guy that introduced me to spirituality. So
Wow.
yeah. And
Oh my goodness. I didn't know you met that
we
young.
met that young. We didn't start dating that young, but we met that young. Yes, I
Wow.
know.
That is really cool that he's the one that introduced you to that. How
He
beautiful.
like sent me the tapes, literally, because like I
Wow.
know. And I feel like
Oh
he
my
came
gosh, how
into my life. I
special.
know. I feel like he came into my life at like a really the right time because this is a time in my life that I was like questioning so much and I just wasn't in a really good place, I'll be honest. And I feel like he like kind of saved my life in a weird way of like, hey, you can go right. You don't need to go left. And I
Yeah.
think that that's
Yeah.
very powerful that, but I
Wow.
was open to it, right? Because you have to be open
Of course.
to things like that to
Yeah.
receive it. So
And your gratitude practice. I mean, you just exude gratitude. And I think gratitude is the greatest gift that we could tap into every
100%.
day because it keeps us in the present, but it also really is expansive for what we want to bring in. And I think everything manifested, I believe, at least everything I've manifested has come from gratitude. And
100%.
I want to say that's across the board, but
I
everyone's
started,
different.
no, I agree with you a
Tell
hundred
me.
thousand
Yeah.
percent. Like everything in my life is because of gratitude. Even when I was, working these jobs that I really wasn't like in the right position or like like grinding in New York and I would still be grateful for those experiences because they would get me to the next one. So I always even give this advice to people. If you're not loving your job right now, think of it as like, okay, but it's giving me a means to maybe pay for your rent or maybe pay for something in your life. Just be grateful for even just that little piece of it. Because if you are, then the next thing is available for you. But unless you're
Yeah.
grateful, you really can't get to like the next step. At least that's what I believe. So I've been
Right.
practicing it for a long time, even before that journal like is in existence. Like I would say like 20 years of my life of gratitude, night and day. I would end each night. I still do it. I just never, no matter what goes on in my life, like I can be having like the worst day. I could have a migraine, whatever. I like literally will not shut my eyes until I do my gratitude. It's very simple. It's just kind of coming up with things of the day or things of my life that I feel grateful for. I speak out loud those things and then I go to sleep. I wake up and then I do it again. And if I'm like around where I can't speak it, I obviously think it and I just like whisper it
Mm.
or whatever. But I do believe in the power of like the universe is listening. So
Yes.
you kind of have
Yes.
to like speak it into existence.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, I will not ever not be grateful. Honestly, it's not even about having things or having a good life. I will be grateful for like, it's actually on the worst days that it works the most because you tap into, okay, like I could be having like the worst day, but at least I'm healthy, I'm happy, I have this, I have that. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can really tap into what you have instead of focusing on what you don't have. Because by default, humans, we all have it. It's like a human flaw. By default, you tend to focus on the things you don't have. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
money. I don't have a job I like. I don't have the body I want. I don't have, whatever it is. I don't have a husband. I don't, whatever it is that you don't have, you tend to really focus, and what you focus on expands. So if you focus on what you
Yes.
do have, even if it's as little as like, I have water to drink because there's others that don't, it just, it puts like a smile on your face, and you actually grounds you into a place of like, oh wow, I actually have a lot. And you don't realize it
Yeah.
until you literally sit down and say like, hey, I have my health, I have a family, I have so much that maybe someone else doesn't have. And so then you start realizing
Yeah.
that you have more than what you thought. So that's kind of where
Yeah.
gratitude for me like comes from. It's like that feeling of like, no, we have more than what we actually think we have.
It's so true. It is. And that's how my practice started too, with gratitude, because you don't need a subscription. You don't need anyone to guide you. You don't even need a journal if you don't want one. It's just you and your thoughts and what exists in the here and now. You could take it with you anywhere. Like you said, you could do it anywhere, anytime. And gratitude's one of the highest frequencies. And when we're feeling into that, I really believe it attracts
It
more.
does. And also, if you're not grateful for what you have, you can never get more of it. So even if it's just like the shirt on your back, if you're not grateful for it, the universe like doesn't give you more of it. So I always even test myself. I'm a person that likes to clean out my closet, and I'm very much like a giver. So I feel like I don't ever want to be attached to things. So I really challenge
Yeah.
myself to do it, because I'm like, okay, without this, I'm still exactly who I am. And I think that that's
So
a
true.
really good like practice and ritual to do, because then you realize like who you are is not about the things. It's really more than that. You're so much more than what you do for a living or what you have or where you live. Like you're so much more. And I just wish people would like know that about themselves. And so my thing is like,
Yeah.
especially women, I feel like just you're so much more. And it's like a
Right.
beautiful thing to kind of tap into like, wow, I really am so much more than what I thought. So,
It's so true. One of the big manifests of my life to this point was my home that I'm in now, and it was a really hard time to buy a home in the area that I wanted. And I swear, I think that I read. Did you ever read The Seven
of
Spiritual Laws of
course,
Success by Deepak?
love.
Okay, so I was reading that book during that time. And then I realized I needed to detach from the outcome. But also, I remember saying to myself and looking around at where I was living and finding so much beauty, and how at one time that was my dream, to live in that
100%.
apartment right near the ocean, where I had all these amenities. And like I focused so much on how beautiful it was where I was in that moment. And very quickly after that, we finally found our house. And I know that that was like part
100%.
of the magic and manifesting
And
it.
even with like, I would say about people's bodies, especially when you become a mom, a lot of women are focused on like your past body or like what you used to look like. And like you start to complain, like, I don't want to look like that anymore. And I'm like very in this like kind of complaining instead of like, wow, I just gave birth. Like for me, I
Yeah.
focused on like my body created a life. And so I will not just
Hmm.
like, I will not treat it badly. I just won't. I have so much respect for my body. And I come from a place of just respecting it versus judging it. And so, that's kind of, when I was breastfeeding and whenever it just kind of came off because I was focused on, hey, I gave birth, I created a life, instead of focusing on, let's lose weight, I want to look a certain way, or you know what I mean? Like it just, even as small as that, like I feel like people tend to complain more than they tend to just focus on like, wait a second, I have a healthy body that just created a life. I feel so strong and empowered and like confident in my own skin. And yeah, I might have some extra skin, but you know what? It's all good. And I feel like coming from that place of like feeling good about it leads you to a place of like feeling even better about it. So
I couldn't agree more. And I think this goes with the aging process as well,
yes,
because like I'm in my 30s now,
yes,
I'm definitely noticing some changes. And I started to really focus in on changes that I was seeing. And by focusing in, it expands, just like you said before.
100%.
And when I finally let go and started to speak into how I want to look and how I want to feel, it's almost as if those things I was seeing aren't there anymore because my energy is not there.
100%.
It's really so
It's so
powerful.
powerful.
It really
But
is.
especially like, okay, so if you're focusing on aging and it's inevitable, you can't stop it. I think that I'm attached to the feeling. I'm attached, like people always ask me about this question. It's like, I'm more attached to feeling good than I am about looking good. Because once you feel from the inside, it exudes from the outside.
Yes.
And if you are like feeling a certain way, it's going to manifest itself in your body. You're going to end up inflamed. You're going to end up with stuff that's not going right because you're focusing on, what what you don't have or something that you don't like or flaws. And everyone has flaws. Like, honestly, like once you accept that everyone has flaws and once you accept that you do as well, and unless you want to change it by having surgery, like do whatever you got to do. But at the end of the day, it's also beautiful to just kind of accept flaws and love yourself anyway. It's kind of like how I live in my
Yeah.
life. It's like there's challenges, but I do it anyway. There's, grief from losing a sibling, but I will get up and be happy anyway. It's like in spite of those things, I feel this feeling of like, but it's my choice to be happy. It's my choice to create joy. It's my choice. So I can either wallow in grief every single day, or I can get up and try to make the best out of the life that I have and currently have, and also inspire other people that they can as well. So that's kind of goes back to everything we're talking about, just kind of focusing on the good instead of always kind of complaining about what you don't have or what you look like or aging or, no one likes to age. Like, no, not everyone's like, oh, I can't wait to age. Like, that's not something that anyone's
Yeah.
talking about. But I feel like there's this idea that it's horrible. And I, again, am living proof that like you can age backwards, or you
Yep.
could just, because of the feeling that I have is so strong that I feel better now than I've ever felt in my life. So I don't know what, like I'm just attached. I attached myself to the feeling of feeling good. So I eat certain foods that make me
That's
feel
it.
good. I indulge if I want to. I just maybe won't have 7 pieces of cake. I'll have 1 piece of cake and I'll be happy. Like, I truly
Yeah.
believe in just enjoying your life and having whatever that is. So if cake and wine and those things make you happy, have it. Don't tell yourself you can't have it. Because if you do, then you end up having even more. Whereas if you tell yourself you can have it, you
Yep.
probably just have a little piece and then you'll be done and you'll enjoy it.
So true.
Again, it's more
It is so
enjoyable
true.
without judging yourself or judging how you are, how you feel. So I'm attached to the feeling of feeling good. That I'm not attached to how I
Yeah.
look more than I am about anything internal. How do I feel? How am I feeling mentally, physically, emotionally? Like those type of things. So that's kind of like how I think about aging. I think if you attach yourself to like, I feel great, doesn't matter what age you are, you feel great.
It's so true. What are the things you do every day? I know from following you, but I want everyone to hear all the things that you do, whether it be each day or just those little micro moments you take to tap into joy. Because when I think of you, I think of
Thank
joy.
you.
So, what are those things that are like your go to that help bring you back to
Okay,
feeling good?
so I would say the first thing is the gratitude. I have to start my day without my phone. I think that's like a really big like thing that I've had to train myself because like immediately we jump on the phone and like, this is what we do for a living. So of course you're like jumping on Instagram or jumping on the phone. And I think it starts my day. And I've noticed that it didn't ever start my day on a really good note. So I leave it in the living room or I just don't go on social media before I do my gratitude and before I like drink my coffee outside and just tap into the energy of either the sunrise. Sometimes I go and watch the sunrise, and just the energy of it just really like gets me grounded and focused and present and just really feeling like good inside. Then another thing I would say is I work out, because I feel like the discipline of it, again, like what I was saying before, the discipline of working out, doing something for yourself, it does trickle into everything in your life. So it's like, if you can, do that for yourself, what else could you do throughout your day? And also it's like your time. So I have a kid. So basically I have to like carve out that time for myself, or else I'm not going to ever get it. So that's another thing. And then honestly, if I'm having like a really not so great day, or things are kind of out of my control, they're going, wrong or whatever, I really genuinely dance. Like, dance is the epitome for me of joy. And it just takes you out of your body, like in terms of like out of your mind and more into your body and more into who you are. And I tap into that. And then I can go back to doing anything else that I have to do. But I'm also like not interested in this, like, I need to plow through my to-do list, because I do feel like you're just plowing through life instead of enjoying life and taking time to like do something that maybe makes you really happy, or spending time with your child like I do. I like make sure that I have like quality time with him. Even though I'm super busy throughout the day, like I literally would like take my phone, put it away, and spend time with him. And I feel like that's really special and important, because time flies. I cannot believe he's going to be 4. Like, I feel like I just gave birth. But I feel like that's really important. And then with my husband, I feel like there's like no phone zone dinners. Like, no, you're not on your phone. You're actually having a conversation. These are like little things that I really do feel like help my life. And find just like little pockets of your day to remind you like why you're here, who you are, your happiness, your joy, those type of things. Like, honestly, even if it's just taking a walk, I feel like you're doing that for yourself and your mind, and clearing your mind. I think it's like really, really powerful. Like, I went downstairs and sat on the beach and listened to the ocean to kind of bring myself back into existence. Like, I was like having this day where like, everything, like nothing was really going my way. It wasn't flowing. So I'll stop. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, I'm not going to be upset. I'm just going to go outside. And once I started to just sit there, and I'm like, it's not as bad as I thought, because it's never as bad as you think.
Yep.
And it brought me right back to life. And that's why I think present moment living is like the best. And you catch yourself because you're constantly thinking about something else. But present moment thinking is like your best friend, like trying to get yourself and tap back into the present, because that's where everything special happens. Like, it really does.
So true.
In the present.
It's so true. And earlier you mentioned like your love and connection to the sun.
Yes.
Can you share more about that? Because we weren't able to like go deep into that, but I feel so connected when I'm outside, when the sun is shining, and just like feeling the warmth and all 100%. That it offers us.
I've always been a very like, I'm born in the summer. I'm like a summer baby, water baby. So I have a very strong connection to the water, but also to the sun, because there's a vibration that happens, and each sunset is so different, and sunrise, and they're also very different. Some people are like sunrise and sunset people. I'm both. I feel like there's a different energy for both. And like the beauty of it, just like, I just often think, and I know it's like kind of weird, but I'm like, okay, like what if I was blind and I didn't get to actually see this? I would be like so upset. Like, that would make me so, and I have such like empathy and compassion for people that are blind, because they don't get to see it. And I'm like, but they honestly get to feel it. And that's why I think there is an energy for like the sun, and like the warmth on your skin, and the vitamin D, and like how it's so important for your health and just your mental health. I just love it. I've always been like that. I'm kind of one of those people that if it's not sunny, I'm kind of like not low energy, but definitely lower than normal Lisa energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you're the same way.
I feel you on that. I am. What do you have like rules for how often you stay in the sun and like expose
Well,
your
I'm an
skin to the
SPF.
sun?
Like I don't want to, I need to keep my skin glowing and young and fresh. So I definitely don't go like direct with my face. Like I'll always have like a hat, unless I'm taking like photos, which happen like in 5 minutes. But like I always wear a hat, definitely SPF, but I have to feel it on my skin. But I won't stay there like,
Yes, I know,
yeah, I
me
won't
too.
stay there. I'm not like a sunbather, but yeah, I
Okay.
definitely have to feel it on my skin. But I know that sun exposure is like not the healthiest for you. So I definitely don't like do like sun all day or like whatever. Yeah, we're
Overdo
always
it.
underneath an umbrella and I'm like swimming with my child or, those moments. So yeah,
So nice.
I know that's what's so nice about
So
being
nice.
here because
So
it's so
special.
nice like 90% of the time, which is like my vibe. Like honestly, it's my
Beautiful.
vibe. Like that is so my vibe. Like I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was more of what I needed until I was here. But it's so my energy, my vibe. It just, everyone's always like, "Oh, something changed." I'm like, "Nothing really changed besides the fact that I'm just tapping more into the energy of being here." Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking like I have to go back to your Instagram and see like what were you doing before you were able to dance on your
I have
balcony
I
with
was
the
dancing
sunrise and
inside. You can
sunset? Like
definitely go back because me dancing is going to happen no matter what.
because I mean
Okay.
I love when you're like showing your outfit and your energy through like dancing
Thank
on your
you.
balcony with this like ocean view, the sun. It's
It's
just
like
next level. I was when I found
it's
out you were
all like the
moving,
energy. Like, I mean, I feel like the stars align for those videos because they're very like impromptu. You
literally,
cannot plan those videos. None of the dancing
they're
videos are
unreal.
ever like rehearsed or planned or I think that's why I like them so much because they're always one shot. Like it's
Yep.
like, oh, we either captured this or we didn't.
Mhm.
Like it's just not.
And those probably do the
Yes, like I
best,
feel
right? Do
I
they
get
do the best?
stopped on the
Yeah,
street, even in New York, because I've always danced from the beginning. If you scroll the feed, Adrienne and I have always been like dancers. We've always like danced. I think it's like the most thing
I
that
love
creates
it.
joy. And then when I lost my brother, it was the single thing that I thought was like kind of my therapy because I felt like when I was sad, I would just get up and like dance because it would make me like I would definitely feel the emotions of being sad. Because I don't think it's like important to it's important to note that you have to feel the feelings because when you go through grief or you go through anything bad, I think it's important to feel sad or like have a good cry session. But I would, after that, just start dancing because I would feel so like joyful. Like it just created this joy. And so I would do
Yeah.
it more often. And sometimes I just like, again, and it's the art of like not caring what people think about you because I'll do it in public.
Yep.
And I think that's really important too because
I
it's
love
like,
it.
do I really don't care what people think about me? And like I'll dance and be like, yeah, I really don't care. Like it's definitely comes from a place of that. So I challenge myself too. But I just think dance is, I don't know, it's just such a joyful thing. And it's, you tap into your body and you feel sexy and you feel energetic and movement. It's just
Yep.
everything. There's like nothing that I can say that's bad about dance, literally.
Yeah. It's so true what you say though about I was thinking back to a story you posted recently. You were like outside at an event at night and like either someone was watching you dance or like you like
I
reference not
do.
caring and just like doing you in front of whomever. But I think like those are the moments where we have the most opportunity to actually spread joy when we're doing something that others aren't brave enough to
100%.
do. Like a lot of people aren't brave enough to just like dance. Well, we actually walk, this is such a random comparison, but we walk our dog in a stroller and it brings us a lot of joy because he's old and he loves being outside. He's like our
Love
spirit
it.
animal. And a lot of people like can look at us and be like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. You're walking your dog in a stroller. But everyone we see looks and they laugh, whether they're laughing at us or like with us
100%.
or it's giving them joy to see a little cute dog in a stroller. Like those are the things that I think think like we have the opportunity, like it's a missed opportunity not to do what we might be embarrassed to do that feels good
100%.
to us, because when we feel good,
But it's
other
also like
people feel that.
inspiring. Like it's like very like, oh God, like I should do that too. Like I get messaged all day long about like
Yep.
how dancing or something I'm doing or my positive energy is like making you happy. And for me, that's like priceless. Like I screenshot
Yeah.
all of them because if I'm having an off day, I'm like, wait a second, wait a second. Like I definitely create a joy in someone else's life. And for me, that's like priceless.
Yeah.
But it's weird because even in New
So
York, I
true.
would get like stopped on the street, even here, like, and everyone references my dance videos, like to the point where I'm like, should I just be dancing every day? Like literally, like
Should
I
I be a
used to be a
dancer?
dancer, but I'm saying like, do I just need to be dancing every single second of my life? But it's nice because I
Yeah.
sprinkle it in. I don't want to be ever too much. So it's like, it's a
I
good
love it.
sprinkle.
No, it's
It's a good mix.
perfect. It's
Thank you.
perfect. It's
Thank
so
you.
nice. I also was thinking about how you shared about like the grieving
Yeah,
process and with your brother. I feel like people can look from the outside at your life and be like, well, of course she's happy.
100%.
Like, look at her life and look at what she has and look at where she lives. But you actually have gone through a
100%.
lot that like I didn't know until we connected and spoke one on one, and you share it with, you know, your following and your community. But how you handle and everyone handles it
Yes.
differently, and
Right.
there's
There's
no,
no
you know,
right or
there's no
wrong
better or
either.
worse,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's no right or wrong. But I feel like something that people can get trapped in is like feelings of guilt, or just feeling into that space of just like such sadness. And I remember you saying like you take it as an honor, like you take your loss that you've had and you live in that energy and in
Hmm.
his honor. And it brought me so much peace, because I'm someone that I can tend to go a different way with like
Heavy.
heavy energy like that,
Oh,
because
it's heavy.
it's heavy. And you brought such a fresh perspective to that. And I think it can help so many people who are dealing with grief, just like your outlook on life and how you choose to see it. It's just so refreshing and healing to see and
I
to
think
understand.
being here also has like the sun, sunsets, and everything has that healing energy for me. And I definitely felt like I was in a good place when I was back in New York. But when I moved here, I actually felt like I was going through this like rehashing healing process. And I did it by myself. I didn't really like, I didn't share the whole
Yeah.
process, but I share glimpses of the process because I think so many people reach out to me. I have like a whole community of people that reach out about grief. And it's something that it's not the easiest
Yeah.
thing to share. And at the beginning, I remember having this thought like, gosh, people are going to pity me and I don't ever want them to. And I want them to be more, wow, like she's going through a hard time. And like, again, this is my hard time, but it could be anything that you're dealing with. That's like a loss of a
Yeah.
job, a loss of a family member, a loss of anything feels this similar in a sense of you feel like you lost something and that you might not be able to go on. And so I wanted to give it just a different perspective of a sense like, okay, like if someone sees me kind of just still creating joy and still feeling the feelings of happiness, because for a while I didn't think that that would ever happen. That's why Sebastian was actually um, later, because when he passed, I genuinely felt so heartbroken that I couldn't even think of having a baby. Like that wasn't even in like the
Yeah.
visual of like I always wanted one, but now that's gone because this happened and now I feel like I'm never going to get it that joy back. I'm never going to feel the feelings like, and you do feel guilty if like you're smiling. You're like, oh God, why am I smiling? I lost someone. Like I shouldn't be smiling right
Yeah.
now. But I really at the beginning, and I will say 100%, I'm going to go back, my spirituality journey, and I do feel like I've even chose right now, had it not been for this practice of years in the making of like going through gratitude, going through this happiness, like always being kind of this positive person and seeing this outlook on life, I don't think I would be as kind of strong in the sense of like dealing with the grief if
Yeah.
I didn't have all that to kind of fall
Mhm.
back on. Because I feel his
Yeah.
energy everywhere. And so if I didn't believe in energy, or if I didn't believe in stuff like that,
Mhm.
or the universe or any of the, I don't think I would believe that he was around. I feel,
Right.
even when I see the sunset, I feel like I do feel his energy. I know it's crazy to think, but I do.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if I didn't have all of that, but I often want to show people, like, I can have I really cry a lot. I'm sad about it a lot. I think it's very normal. And I think normalizing sadness and
Yeah.
normalizing grief is something that people don't do, because it's like, oh, it's a touchy subject. Let's not talk about it. Yes, but I think it needs to be spoken about, because life is like that. You're going to lose people, maybe not as early as I did and not as tragic as I did, but I feel that everyone's
Yeah.
going to have some type of loss. And I want people to look at me like, in spite of that, she's able to do, what she's doing. And it's not about me at the end of the day. It's about the inspiration of that. How you can see somebody still
Yeah.
living a good life and living their best life and living life to the fullest, in spite of, not because of, but in spite of. And I
Yeah.
always say that. It's like, you don't think I'm sad? Like, I'm always sad. But in spite of being sad, I'm still going
Yeah.
to wake up and make choices that are going to bring me, to this place of
Yeah.
happiness and joy. And when I had Sebastian, I honestly felt like the joy was like, it was like what's the word, is like, I felt it back in my life. I don't feel like it's ever going to be 100%,
Yeah.
because I don't ever want it to be, in a
Right.
weird way, because that would mean I don't care. I'm always going to have he's always going to be in my life, spiritually. He's always going to share like a special part of my life. And I do live in his honor. I made that choice. I even wrote it down. I'm like, I'm going to live the life you can't. I literally said it and I wrote it down. Like, I will live that
Yeah.
life that you no longer can. And I'm going to do it even more full throttle, even more like full, because you get like this fearlessness in you, because I'm like, that's the worst thing could happen. And
Yeah.
I'm going through it. Like, I'm not afraid of anything
Yeah.
else. Like, I really am genuinely not afraid. Like,
Literally.
and so there's like positives that can come out of
Yeah.
such a tragic moment in my life, of like, he's gone, but he's really not. He's around, but I'm saying, like, he's physically gone. But I feel like the positive is just kind of coming to a place of like, like, again, you have to go through the grieving process. Acceptance is the last one. There's days
Yeah.
that I accept and days I don't. I mean, I do have like a very, like, it's hard. I have better days than good days, and I mean, bad days and good days. I mean, like anything else. But I feel like making that choice,
Yeah.
I feel like I wouldn't be as like stable right now if I didn't make that choice of living in his honor. And I feel almost responsible.
It's
Yeah.
such an
Well,
inspiration.
thank you.
It's so inspiring. And it's just a reflection of exactly what you said, like the work that you've done
100%.
leading up to that point. Nothing's a coincidence. And, there are different experiences I think we have in our life that prepare us for our destiny and what's to come ahead. And it's just so powerful, the
Thank
way in
you.
which you share.
I think also, like, just the mental health aspect of it. I think, obviously we didn't know there were certain things that were wrong, and, tragically losing him by him taking his own life is something I never thought that would be part of my story. I never thought that that would be part of his story. Honestly, it almost feels surreal still, because it just doesn't feel like that would be, there weren't these signs that people talk about. There weren't these, like, and that's another thing I feel like that needs to be
Yeah.
spoken about, like the mental health aspect. I know it's spoken about more, but there needs to be this feeling of like, that's why I think joy and happiness is really something that needs to be more online, because people need to visually see what could be possible for their lives. And there's some people can't tap into,
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't see it, but I still think it's going to happen. So a lot of people aren't programmed like that. So they need to see it visually, like, hey, I can live that way too. And so that's kind of like what I think. I mean, people reach out to me every day, like, about, losing someone and how I've helped them. And I honestly don't even know what I'm doing to help them. I really don't. And I kind of like it like that, because I'm not an ego person. I'm very humble. So I don't want to know why I'm helping, but if I am, thank you so much. Like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like,
You're
oh,
an angel
thank you,
on earth.
girl. You're so nice. You're so nice.
You are. You are. Just through how you share is helping people, and that's so powerful, and that puts so much context to what you
Thank
do as
you.
well. Because it's like if you're thinking
I
you're in
know.
fashion, but think about it, like how you're it's so
It's so
beyond that
beyond
as
that.
well, and it's like this infusion
But I
and
think
beyond.
everything should
It's
be like, I
really
feel
so
like even with you,
powerful.
it's a lifestyle. I don't think
Yeah.
that someone like I someone
Yeah.
always said like, oh, like aren't you just a fashion person? I take offense to that. I'm like, no, I'm
Right,
like
right.
multifaceted. I think we all
Yeah.
are. There's so many
Yes.
interests that you could be interested
Yes.
in, that, and that's why I think the beauty of the internet. There's so much to go around. Everyone's interested in different things. If it's not your cup of tea, move on. And I feel like,
I love
there's
it.
enough money, there's enough, work out there to go around, and there's no need for competitiveness. There's no need to feel like, why is this person living like that and why am I not? No, no, no. Like, everyone goes through life, and I've learned this through their own timeline and their own journey. And maybe they didn't have someone that they lost and kind of like, not set them back, but you know what I mean? Like, if you lost something in your life and you were like not
Yeah.
at a really good place, time heals things. And I think people aren't, the instantness
Yeah.
is like what we're programmed to thinking now. Like, I need to be instantly, married. No, you need to go through the motions of, dating and getting to
Yeah.
that place where you trust someone and you love someone. And everything's now happening way too fast, in my opinion. Just this instant, like, okay, we're instantly, and if you're not
Yeah.
instantly a billionaire, like, your life is over. And it's like,
Yeah.
wait a second. What happened here? We're like
Yeah.
missing the mark.
It's so
Um,
true. It's so true. It really is. And I love how you shared like the multidimensionality, because people have advised me like in the past, like make a separate Instagram account for like your meditations, and then like have like your personal one for your lifestyle. And I tried that for a little when I first transitioned
which I'm
into
so proud of you
my
for,
Instagram
because when
now.
we spoke
And I'm like,
about, you were
no,
not
this
doing
is
it full
like
time. And so I'm so proud of
thank
you,
you.
because I told
Thank
you, just take the
you.
leap. Take the
Thank
leap.
you. I know. I know. Remember, you knew we met for a meditation one time. She's like, Erica, your energy's off
Yes.
today. I'm like, you're right. And I felt safe enough to show that to you. Like, you created a space, although I was sharing a meditation with you, you created a space where I felt so open to share that. And that's just a testament to the energy and the
Well,
warmth
I'm
that
proud
you
of
really
you, because
hold.
I love seeing people live their
But
best lives.
thank
Honestly,
you.
it makes me
Thank
happy watching
you. Thank
others
you.
thrive. Like, that's truly, genuinely, like, I love seeing people happy and living their best life and successful and all those things. And success is also defined by certain things. Like, for me, it's not financially,
Yeah.
it's the pie. And it's like, if, your
Yeah.
partnership, your finances, your home, your career, and just kind of like this, your health, I think if one of those is off, I don't think you're living that successful life. And I think so much focus is defined by, money and what you have. And so little is on your mental health and on your happiness. And I think happiness is like, I think number one for me. I think if someone else is happy, I'm like, that
So
they're
true.
killing it. Like, I'm like, I watch you and I'm like, you're killing it. I don't care if you told me that you were doing nothing else,
Aw, love
but I
you.
see happiness. That means you're killing it. To me, that's what it means.
I love it. You're sharing like so many like golden little life philosophies that I think everyone
Oh,
just needs to
thank
hear
you.
and listen to every
Tune,
day. Like they just need
tune
to tune
in.
into your frequency and be like,
Got
yes,
it.
I
Well,
got
that's what we're
this.
here
I got
for.
this. But it's so true. Like you're really shifting, I think, many people's perspectives in so many ways about like what success is, and also how it doesn't have to be just one thing. Like it doesn't have to be just fashion. Like you are a
100%.
multidimensional being, and the lifestyle. How many people message you about your child and your partnership, and maybe they initially came there for the fashion, but this brings a whole other element, and it's just so
Thank
special to
you. And
watch
I
and
think
share
that
in.
modern moms
So I love
also is like
that.
a thing that I really because again, like when I was trying to, not trying, but I always felt like, okay, like if I'm going to be a mom, what does that look like? And the people that I was discussing it with or seeing, visually seeing, weren't in line with what I thought it looked like until I went to Spain and I saw this woman. I'll never forget it. She was so like, you could just see this like confident, sexy woman on the beach with her kids. And I looked at her and I literally was like, that's the mom I want to be. Like, there she is. And it
I
was
love
after
it.
that trip, actually, that I came home and said, like, I want to get pregnant. We got pregnant, thankfully, very quickly. And
Wow.
I feel very grateful for that because I know a
Wow.
lot of challenging things can come up for others. And I feel, it's even hard to share that things were good because, I have empathy for other women that had a difficult time, but I'm just sharing my experience. But yeah, like I literally came, and that's why I went back to Spain. It's like no one really kind of knows this unless you really know me. But I went to Spain for Sebastian's first birthday because I had a goal in my mind that that was going to be what I aspired to. And so I went to Spain. I was looking sexy and I was feeling it. And I had my kid. Yeah, I was
I'm
like,
crying
I know
again.
you're going to make me cry. That's why I'm trying not to look at you.
So special.
I'm
I'm
trying not
literally
to look at
crying
you
throughout
because
this
I'm
whole
like
thing.
such
So
a
keep
sap.
going.
I like
Sorry.
cry over everything. But yeah, I was there and it felt again like the a manifestation because again, seeing something that wasn't in my life, I
So
was not
powerful.
pregnant, but being like,
Yeah.
that's the mom I'm going to be. And I'm going to go and I'm going to do that. And it's going to look like that. And everyone else that I was speaking to was like, you're going to look, especially I was fit modeling at the time. And there was a lot of negativity about like the body and like, you're never going to have your stomach again. You're never going to look like this again. You're never going to look like that. You're going to have no sleep. You're going to, all these like the noise of like the negativity just filled
Yeah.
my being, honestly, that I was petrified to have a kid because I was like, gosh, no one's telling me anything that's positive. So I've made the
Yeah.
intentional shift of like, okay, it's real. This is what it looks like. It looks like this for me. I'm sharing my experience. And again, I even told my friend that's pregnant now, she's one of my closest friends, that this is what it could look like. And she actually told me, she's like, you've made me feel more comfortable about getting pregnant because you shared, again,
Yeah.
it was challenging. I'm not saying it's not challenging. Again, I'm not saying motherhood is not challenging. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, in spite of the challenges, in spite of everything else, you can create the way you want to be as a mom. And if it's taking care of yourself, if it's
Yeah.
looking great, if it's feeling sexy, if it's feeling confident, you can do that too. And I feel like that's kind of the
Yeah.
vibe that I want to show women, that this is the different vibe that I've seen. It's like a different mom vibe than I've ever seen. And so I just wanted to show something that was different and unique and just kind of, having fashion be part of our lives too, because Sebastian's really into fashion, which is so cute. And why not? If it's making, and why not? If it makes him happy, and I love creativity. And if he's like, now he's really interested in taking photos in a Polaroid. And I love creativity. So for me, I'm like nurturing, hey, if this is what he wants to do, whatever, let's do it.
I love the fit
Thank you.
checks when you do a fit
He's,
check with
he
him.
kills me. I'm like, I might
I
as well just sit
can't.
back. I'm done. Thank you.
He's so cute. It's wild. His hair, I love it. Oh
Thank
my God,
you.
he's
Thank
so
you. And I've
cute.
also had to deal with a
So
lot
cute.
with that. I mean, that's a
So
different
sweet.
topic, but because he has long hair and he's different and he's like, people have like again, these
Gosh.
like blinders on of what
Yeah.
you should look like or what you should act like. But like, who wrote this book on life?
Yeah.
Like, I don't follow
Yeah.
that. Like, I'm writing my own book.
Right.
Like, this is
Right.
not, I don't follow rules of
Yeah.
like, other people's, yeah, limiting beliefs.
You guys are such a
Thank
beautiful
you.
family. And it's so clear that you are writing your own story, your own book. And it's such
I
an
know. I
inspiration.
love
I'm
you.
like sobbing over here just talking to you because your energy is just, It's just beyond, it's out of this world, and it's such an honor. I want you to share like what a typical day in the life looks like. And then I also want you to share about like your
Yeah,
plans, your line, all
so
exciting things
exciting.
that you've
Well,
launched and
that's
maybe things
very
that are
exciting, only
coming.
because
So
the
can you share
line
a
is
little bit
like
about
something that
those?
again was in my mind
Yeah.
for a while. I fit modeled for 12 years. So like I worked for different designers, their muse, and I only walked away from it because I was 4 months pregnant. So really I was being an influencer at the same time, a couple years within. So I was always working two careers, which is
Mm,
crazy when I start to think about it, but kind of who I am. I'm very much like a doer. Like a workaholic. I love work. Um, Especially coming from a background of like male dominance. I always wanted to be a female entrepreneur. So the line actually, I studied fashion at FIT and I've worked in a lot of areas of fashion, but also working hand in hand with designers. I was like, wow, I always want to have my own thing. So it was kind of one of those things like in the manifestation of like, I want to have my own thing one day. But again, the noise of a lot of people, you cannot do that. This is too much. It's too expensive. It's all the negatives. And again, something positive that happened after moving is I was sitting here outside looking at the ocean. It's so funny that this is happening that I'm sharing because I don't think I've ever shared this. I literally got this feeling that came over me. It was like, if you don't do this now, you will regret it for the rest of your life. And it's now or never. And I was
wow.
like, oh, I was like, okay. And I really didn't like think it through as much as I, usually do. And I was just like, let's just go. Someone from my past came into my life again. I felt like it was a sign and we worked together and she's like a consultant and it's great. So that came about while moving here. So I feel like that wouldn't have come about. It's weird because New York was where I kind of had the most fashion, but yet I move and I'm in this place and that's kind of where I got the confidence and the energy to like actually see it through. So I'm very excited that that happened. And it's like I'm wearing my bralette and my blazer because I was like, I'm going to wear my
I
essential
love
Lisa
it.
D energy because I feel like, I always tell people, I'm like, the jacket comes with my energy. Trust me, when you wear it, you'll feel energy. But
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
I have
I'm like,
no doubt.
I literally like the energy. But the day to day for me, I again wake up, do my gratitude, have my breakfast, have my coffee, get Sebastian ready, like have breakfast with him. And then I work out typically most days, unless I'm doing something crazy. But there's so much that goes on in the background. And I was saying, you asked me a question about my husband. That's why he's helping
Before.
because it's just a lot. You're managing, the business of being an influencer and now your own brand. So Adrian
Yeah.
helps a lot in both. So he kind of manages everything, especially the business. And a day to day is just literally plugging away of like, what am I creating? How am I inspiring? I'm always trying to just come up with ways to inspire people and just kind of be myself and share that. Honestly, it just comes from a place of like, I'm just sharing who I am. I don't need to say anything. I just need to be that. Um, and just, it's often like,
Yes.
it reminded me of something because we were talking about this in Dominican Republic with someone else and was like, people that have to quote and say like, oh, I'm a positive person or say it constantly. I often don't know if I believe it because if you are, you just are that. Like it's within you. It's your essence. Like for you,
Yeah.
you don't ever have to say anything. It's just who you are. Like I see you and I'm like, you don't have to tell me you're happy. I can see it. You know what I
So
mean? Like you just genuinely, you're either,
yeah. Yeah.
it's your being. So, the day just
Yep.
goes. I mean, I feel like I again create pockets of like these
I'm
moments
sure.
that I really set time for my child, my husband, but we are like in it. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that like no one knows and no one, I don't really share that
Yeah.
much of it. I should because it's very busy, but I'm also not like busying my life
Hmm.
away, if that makes sense. Like I don't want to ever feel like I'm like well, I'm just
Totally.
busy and well, let's have a busy competition. Like, no, I feel like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
efficiency and, running the brand and sharing about it and trying it on and like sharing fashion, sharing things that I'm working on projects, shooting. We're basically shooting content almost daily. And whether that's like video content, a
Yeah.
reel, or just stories or anything, like I'm just constantly doing something as an influencer, but I will say I love it. So it doesn't feel like work, find something you love and it doesn't feel like work, but that's
Yeah.
the day to day. It's just,
I love it. I very often will be like, look
ah,
at Adrian helping Lisa, Vinny.
poor
Can you
Vinny.
help me, please? Because he gets talk about someone who he gets embarrassed. He gets embarrassed by like
Of course.
doing that and videoing, especially if people
Let
are
it
looking. I'm
go.
like, you got to
They're
just
not
let
worried
it
about
go.
you.
Let it go. So you guys are always there. I'll be like, look
That's so
at how
funny.
cute
It
they
comes with
are. Can
growth
you
too.
help
I
me
feel like
now?
maybe at the beginning, like Adrian would probably be like, why are we doing this? Or like even in New York, people would just
Totally.
stop and just like stare. And I call them the staring committee. But it's like,
Yeah.
but it's like you just become like, I
So
guess,
funny.
used to it, but also training your mind to like literally like, why do
Yeah.
you care what they think about you? Like they're gonna have a thought about you no matter
Right.
what. Like I
Right.
like there's
It's
a
so
great
true.
quote. It's like you walk into a room with 100 people, you're gonna have 100 reputations. You cannot control what people think about you, whether it's positive or negative.
Hmm.
Like even me, like I can't control if someone likes me or not. Like even though I want everyone to like me, I'm one of those people. I'm like, I don't know why I'm not likable or like whatever because I'm such a nice person, but some people just don't like you and it's not anything you did or whatever. It's just, it is what it is. And I feel like no matter what, you can't control. So I guess I just think about, I can't control what they think about me. So why do I care? They're going to think things anyway. But
Yeah.
Adrian's
Exactly.
very good at like,
It's so true.
he's really involved and he really loves it. And I would never force him to be involved or to do anything that he didn't genuinely want to be involved in. So when I created the brand, I really
Yeah.
just needed someone to like run the business aspect and the finances and all that good stuff. So that's what he's doing and it's working out. But he's also able to be a dad, which is something I
Incredible.
my dad worked, he was
So
like blue
great.
collar, like had his own business, worked every day and I barely saw him and I didn't want that for my kid. I wanted more of
Yeah.
like a family dynamic. And so we're very, again, going back to gratitude, I'm really grateful that everything that I've worked my butt off for has led me to this moment. Like honestly, like because it's all hard work, and I definitely share that with everyone. Like nothing has been given to me. I've been financially independent since I was 23 years old, and I've worked for everything I have. So I think there comes from a place that is a very different vibe. Like nothing was ever handed to us. Like, so we come from a very place of like gratitude because of that. Because when you're not handed anything and you
Totally.
really have to work for it, you really know who you are. You're like, yeah,
So
I had to
powerful.
hustle for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
I love that. Thank you so much. You're just so special. Can you tell us, is there any like sneak peeks that you could give us into your clothing line? Anything coming up that we should be looking out for? Or for now, where they could find
I
what you have
mean,
right now that you're offering?
so good. So my
Yeah.
website is www.lisadechico.com. So I'm sure you'll link it. And that's basically where you'll find anything that's new.
Amazing.
So I have the two pieces. So I'm rolling it out as, since I'm fully funding it, I'm rolling it out as pieces.
I love
So
that.
I think it's really important. Yeah, like just essential pieces that you need in your wardrobe. So it's not like a full collection. It's just, they're going to be
Yeah.
pieces. So each time, so I'm working on the next piece,
Amazing.
but I don't have like a timeline or anything. So I don't like to
No,
put it
no,
out
no.
there
I get
until,
it.
you
Yeah.
know,
I love that.
but there's going to be projects. There's other projects just in general that I'm really excited about. And Fashion Week's coming up. So I'm going to New
Oh, nice.
York. Like there's just a bunch of things that are really, and traveling. Like I just kind of living life
Wonderful.
and just kind of taking anything that can come into my life at this point and just being very much in the
I love that.
receptive
I love
attitude
it. Oh
and
my goodness.
openness of
So
it.
excited for
So
everything that's ahead. And I love your pieces
I
now and just
thank
everything
you.
that you put out. You are just a really, really special person. I'm so grateful
Thank
that you're
you.
here today.
Thank you. And eventually a podcast because I'm so inspired that you have one. So I was just like, wow, I really love to
I
talk.
love that. You should
So
do it. I'm telling
I
you,
was,
like a daily dose of Lisa D, people need it.
I mean, you just have to sprinkle it out
That's
there,
it.
right? I know, I feel like it's not, I have a lot to say, but it's also like, I think my perspective is coming from
Yeah.
experience. It's like I really had to deal with a lot in
Yes.
my life, and I really want to show people that. I really want to show the journey. I actually tried out to have my own show on Oprah's own
Did
channel when
you?
it first launched. I got to the end, and the one girl, I'll never forget, the casting director was like, "You are like made to have your own show because it's just ingrained in like how you are and how you speak and just how you are like on camera or whatever." So I've always had it in the back of my
Wow.
mind, but again, like I feel like right now I can't take on anymore. I feel like I would need like an entire team to
Yeah.
take it on, but it's fine. It's in there. It's on the
Yeah.
manifestation of it and
Exactly.
putting it out there, and that's where it starts,
Wow.
right?
Absolutely. That's so cool. I didn't know that. That's really
Yes,
cool.
it's kind of, yeah, because I was acting. I mean, girl, I'm telling you, I said this at the top of the show. I'm like, how long do you have? My background's extensive. When
I
you have like an extensive background, you could go on
and
all
so much
day.
just life experience. And I'm telling you, all those little, I feel like there's so many just little pieces of life lessons that people can take from just hearing you in this one episode. Never mind. You have so much to share. I'm looking
Well, that's
forward
what
to it.
that's the
Yeah.
intention. Honestly, that's the intention because I truly, genuinely want everyone to live life to the fullest and be happy. And it makes me sad when I don't see people that I can see their potential and I can see it, but they're just not
Yeah.
living up to what, because of like lack or the mindset or something or excuses or whatever. And I'm one of those people. I genuinely am happy for others and I genuinely want to see other people succeed and other women, especially, and just everyone should be killing it in just life in general. And I feel like, why not? Like, why
Yeah.
not?
It's so true. That makes me so happy and
Like,
joyful.
and look at you, you're doing your
Thank
podcast. I mean,
you.
I'm like a proud
You're so
mom. Like, I
sweet.
literally feel like when you were just giving me a meditation, which honestly, like, I feel like even shifted my life. There was one thing that you said that really shifted, which was the practice of when something happens and you like visually see it together and then visually see it breaking apart and letting it
Yeah.
go. Wow, that was like such a shift from you telling me that. Like, honestly, changed a lot in my life. Like, just kind of letting things go that you thought were going to be, you hold on to it. And then when you visually see it, like, break the
Yeah.
cord and shift out, you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
You
I'm good
feel
now.
lighter.
Like, I,
Like
I,
our thoughts
you
and the
do.
intention, like if I feel some type of way, I'll just take that moment to literally like visualize my energy field being cleansed and I really feel it. So I'm glad that resonated with you.
So yes, it does. Everything you do, honestly, your
Oh,
energy
thank
comes off
you.
the page.
Thank you.
Everything you're doing, I'm just so excited and proud of you and
Thank
just
you.
keep doing you,
Thank
girl.
you.
That's
Thank
it.
you for being an inspiration to me because
Thank,
it is
oh,
it's
thank you.
challenging to step out of where I was and like teaching and
Of
the
course, comfort
conventional,
zone.
yeah, and but to see other people doing it plays a major role because talk about the noise like you spoke about before, that is so freaking
100%.
loud. And
It
I
is. Oh
started to
God, it
realize like
is. And it doesn't
it
stop.
doesn't ever stop. But I realized the people
No.
who were feeding my fears were the ones that were living the life that I didn't really match. And then the ones that were inspiring, like you, and telling me to go for it were the people that I aspired to be more like and create a life similar to. So thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah, the noise actually is a big thing that I will say. Like, you have to, I love the hat that you sent me. It was like protect your energy. I wear that often and it actually gives off an energy. Like, when I'm outside, I'm like, I do protect my
Yeah.
energy. I feel like it's really important to like surround yourself with people that really want you to succeed and want you to be happy. And like, really, I think whenever I was doing, because I was doing some like, I went from being a dancer to an actress to a model to all these things, like an influencer, designer, like all these things that everyone told me I couldn't do. If I had listened, I would do, I would have nothing. Like I literally would have done none of it. And the only person that I was listening to was myself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a message that I want to send out to everyone. Like when you have a strong belief in yourself and a strong knowing that you deserve better in life and a strong knowing of who you are. Like I would always say, like in modeling, like, someone can attack you. They can tell you you're, not as skinny enough, not tall enough, not something. It was always something, not something enough. You always felt like not good enough. Like it was just, and then, but I would walk out with my head held high because I'm like, they can always say something about the external, but I always protected who I was as a person. And like, no matter what goes on, even on Instagram, even whatever, no one can take away who you are. And I think that that's a message I want to send to everyone. It's like, really get to know who you are, because once you have it locked down, no one can take that away from you. And I feel like that's where confidence comes from. That's where energy comes from. It's all stemming from that feeling of like, I know exactly who I am. I'm very comfortable. I don't want to be anyone else. I'm very comfortable with who I am. And aside from what you look like, I never mention that. It's like, I always go back to who am I?
Yeah.
And that person is someone that I keep very, that's the energy I protect and the energy that I don't, like, no one's allowed to take that away. And like the noise, it's external for me. It's like, I can hear it, but I'm never going to let it go so deep where it's going to change who I am.
Yeah.
Like no matter what.
That's so true.
And that's what I feel like everyone should have, that
Powerful.
place of like, protect energy, protect yourself, and go for whatever. Because again, you only have one life to live. Like, why not? Like, and then I always say to people, like, you're better off trying it and failing than not trying it at all.
1,000,000%.
It's just not worth.
I really think like failure doesn't even exist. Like, what is failure? Like, what is that? Yeah. Or even a stepping stone, or it could be so
100%.
much.
So much. Well, Jay-Z says it the best. Like, I remember this quote from him, like he said it in an interview or something, like, you learn more from failing than you do from succeeding. And it's very true. Like, I never feel like I'm not like hustling. Like and I use that word just because it's like the grind, like, you know how to work, you know how to do it. And I feel like I'll always tap into that attitude about myself, because I learned so much about who I am and how strong I am in those moments, versus like, if you just made it, you wouldn't learn anything.
So
like,
true.
What would you learn? Or if someone gave you everything, where's the fun in it? Like, there's some type of like lack of fun in just getting everything for nothing. Like, there's so much more of like rewarding when you've like literally manifested, or you've worked so hard for something, and then you get it, and you're like, celebrating that win for yourself, and just celebrating like, wow, I actually did that. And then what else can I do?
Yeah.
I'm always asking those questions, like, what else can you do? Why not you? If not you, then who? Those are the really good questions. If not you, who?
It's so true.
And
when
it's
you
like,
ask
when you
those
start
questions,
asking
I
that
mean,
question,
you
you're like,
heard the voice of your spirit guides, your higher self saying like, now's the time for your clothing line. Is that usually how you get the push, through like a voice in your head?
Yes. It's an energy force. I feel like even when I was having a baby, I'll never forget, like, after I went to Spain, I went to Mykonos, and we were out, and I'll never forget, I was looking out again at water, and I got that feeling. Like, I made the, manifestation of like being this, aspiring to be like that mom. But really, when I found that feeling of like, oh, now is the time, that was August. And then I got pregnant in November. I went to Fashion Week in September, went to the doctor in October, said, hey, you know what? I really want to have a kid. And then the following month I tried, and we got pregnant. So it was kind of like, I put the manifestation into work. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to have goals and it's good to have manifestations, but the actions, I think, are more important in terms of like, are you going to put it into work?
Right.
because it doesn't work without the work. Like you definitely have to do something. So doing something for that goal every day is kind of like how I live, and asking the right questions. I think you should always, I feel like I'm never going to stop evolving as a person if I don't ask questions.
Yep.
You know, you have to ask some type of question, like, why am I here? What am I doing?
Yep.
Am I inspiring? Am I
Yeah.
entertaining, you know, through my dancing?
Yeah.
You know, are you doing something that's just kind of, I don't know, just kind of sets you.
Yeah, no, I relate to that so much. It makes so much sense too, especially with the work that you do. And so I feel like it's similar for me. We like put out a lot. And by putting out a lot, sometimes we don't know, of course, like the amazing DMs that we receive and the emails saying like how this has helped them and whatever it is, the impact that it makes. But for the most part, it's a lot of output. And sometimes I found myself this year, being that it was like my first year doing this full time, not lost, but like almost, there's so many things that we do on the day to day. And then you have to step back and be like, wait, where am I going? And I think that's so important what you bring up, like having that end goal and then allowing every day to be like, okay, what am I doing today that's going to work towards that end goal? It's so
100%.
powerful. And these little things are so powerful.
But what you're experiencing is very normal. Again, it's like, I feel even sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like no one's even saying, it's like, do you even know if you're making an impact? It's not, this career isn't the best in terms of like, you know, you're not running up a ladder, or you're not really getting rewarded anything. It's just kind of like, you have yourself, and you're like looking behind you and like, yep, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, I don't know. Like, again, you don't actually know.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of like the fun in it, but it's also really, for me, stressful, just because I'm come from like a work ethic, like background of like, okay, I'm going to work, and it's going to get me somewhere. Yeah. Whereas this, it's like you work, and it might not even get anywhere, but like you're still putting in a lot of work.
Yeah.
And you just have to like kind of trust that it is the right move. And then there'll be like times where you're just like, do I even do that? Like I have moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Am I doing everything that's supposed to? Am I doing what I set out to do? Or like, you know, with Instagram, you get very frustrated with the algorithm, and you're just like, okay, I'm not sure this was a right move. But then you get a DM or you get something that motivates you, and you're just like, oh yeah, I got this. Like I can do it still.
It's so true.
And it keeps you in.
It's so true. It's just a different paradigm that we're in right now. And if we like, you have, I think, somewhere over 100,000 followers. I don't know where you're at this point, but you have an abundance of followers and community. And if we were in a different, you know, a different realm where we actually met with the people we work with every day, we would almost see more of the impact. But you're reaching all of these people, and
you're like,
you're like, hello,
no clue, like, or to anyone out there, like. Sometimes I'm like, what am I doing?
It's so interesting. It's an interesting world we're living in.
It is. But it's also beautiful. I mean, I never would have thought that this would be my career. So I go back to gratitude. I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And I'll deal with like the positives and the negatives.
Yeah. And the people we meet through this, and
like you,
right? And just like all of the cool things that you do, and the traveling and the working with brands, like it wouldn't be 100%. Possible if it wasn't for how connected we are.
It wasn't possible.
You know? Like so cool.
I mean, honestly, like some of the brands I work for now, I'm like, I modeled for so many years and I never even got half of the stuff like that I'm getting now. And I'm like, that's interesting, because I really was like putting myself out there. Like I was working, but it's very unique business that I feel like I can't complain, because I just definitely feel like a tremendous gratitude towards it. Social media, you can find what's wrong with it, or you can focus on what's right, and connecting with people and putting yourself out there and just grinding and just kind of putting your head down, not listening to the noise. Don't listen to haters. Block is your best friend. You just block it and you just move on. And
it's so true. It's so true. I love you.
Girl, I love you. We could talk all day.
Literally.
Like, literally. I don't want to take up all your day.
Oh my gosh. I would love to stay and chat for as long. I would love for you to come back. We already said before we started this conversation, we're doing a part 2.
Part 2 needs to happen for sure.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful for you and everything that you do and just your light and all that you share and just you being
Thank you.
who you're meant to be, your
Thank
authentic
you. That
self.
means so much to me. Like, honestly, like, I have no words. Like, I don't even think thank you feels powerful enough, but that means like so much to me. You have no idea. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much. Just
And I
share
feel
your
the same way about you,
Instagram.
honestly. Thank you.
Aw, I love you. Can you share your Instagram handle so in case some of the listeners don't follow that they can and tune into this
All follow
beautiful
me,
space?
people. Hello.
Yes.
Come and follow.
Yes.
So my Instagram is at Lisa D NYC, and you can find my brand at lisadechico.com.
Amazing. And I'll put that in the show notes for anyone who wants to shop your brands and visit you on Instagram. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you
Come
so
chat.
much.
I love DMs. I literally like talk to people all day long. It's my favorite thing ever.
I
So
love it
connecting with
too.
people. So come
Love.
chat. Slide into the DM. I love it.
Yes. Yes. Thank
Have a
you for
beautiful
being
day,
here. Thank
and we'll
you.
talk soon.
Yes. And thank you to all the listeners. May the long time sun shine upon you. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you soon.